mysteriously the floor started to arise.
What I'm seeing is a hell of a lot of moisture buildup within the oak floor.
There's no doubt water's coming in, and where? We're gonna have to find out.
Oh, we can see there's water damage on the plywood. So it's not over yet, guys.
Source it down, whatever it takes, if it's every single wall inside, to find the problem. And that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Mike Holmes, look at this.
Is that garbage or what?
Look, you buggers, they haven't vented anything. This is ridiculous. Everything is wrong. I've decided now to gut it, take it all down.
Mike Holmes, I love you.
Me too. You want a good job to keep you in shape? I'll be a contractor. Unacceptable.
God, I love my job.
I purchased the house in the spring of 2000, and what really attracted me to it were the kitchen. I fell in love with the kitchen. And I don't want anything larger. I'm on my own, so what more can I want? But I want my kitchen fixed.
Anne's been living here for about 4 years now. It looks good. It's nice and crisp and clean. The cabinets look nice. The oak floor looked nice until I guess it curled up and got saturated by water.
It was in November, December of the year that I had moved in, and mysteriously the floor started to arise in the kitchen in front of the refrigerator. And it was up approximately 4 to 6 inches.
What is causing the problems? Is it actually weeping up through the concrete? Is it coming in through the back, through the sides, through the roof? We're gonna have to find out. Good morning, Anne.
Good morning. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
Come on in.
A little bit of a disaster.
A little bit of disaster. Okay, this is this wonderful floor. The floor from
Hell?
hell. You got it.
Well, first of all, this is rather nice looking. Did you do a renovation in here?
No, I did not. I purchased the house because of the kitchen, and everything started to go downhill from there.
What I'm seeing is a hell of a lot of moisture buildup within the oak floor. We can see how the floor has cupped up, not only built up, but because now it's expanded with moisture and it's just pushed against each other and lifted. Has anything been done about this?
I had a structural engineer firm come in. They did a report.
She's hired an engineer to look at this. They can't find the problem. She's hired many different people to come in and solve this problem.
A new floor was put down. Unfortunately, because of putting it down incorrectly, it was buckling up towards the dishwasher, very spongy. This is the third.
This is the third floor?
The third floor. This floor was put in approximately 8 months ago. It started again.
I think what drives me insane is that, so many different contractors come in and don't source out the problem. Just, again, try and fix the damage. That's not gonna work. It's like your roof leaking. Over and over again, you keep plastering because you've got a leak. It's not gonna solve the problem. You'll have to stop the leak.
These are new boards.
Well, we're seeing that moisture's built up within the bottom of the wood. Obviously, we have an issue. There could be one of a couple of problems here. Now, we are a concrete slab on here, correct?
21 years ago, you were allowed to put a concrete slab on grade. In different areas, you still are, but I would highly recommend to put in a basement or at least a heated crawl space so you can get underneath it. We have to think of future issues. If you're gonna run new plumbing, if you're gonna run new heating, if you even wanna get to it, you want to be able to get to it from underneath and not pull out all the cabinets and up the floor.
Plywood was put on top. The wood was then applied, and then the process of sanding and sealing.
So they put the plywood directly over the concrete?
Directly over the concrete with a little plastic.
Oh boy, we don't want to use plastic.
Think about it. If you're going to have a concrete slab on grade, why would you put a wood floor on it? Honestly, it would be the same theory as putting hardwood in your basement. Again, I don't recommend it. Oak floor companies will tell you you can. They want to sell the product, so they're going to give you ideas on how to install it on a concrete slab, but it's not recommended. You have to think of the moisture within the ground getting up into the wood. What happens to the wood when it gets moist? It expands and contracts. It will ruin it.
I've done with the wood in the floor. Mike has suggested putting down a heat floor first, followed by a granite or a stone floor on top.
What that's going to do is, if there's any problems with it, really pulling moisture out of the floor, it's going to keep that hot, and that's going to stop that problem.
I'm just going to look under your cupboard here for a sec.
Okay. Now, Mike, I have had all new plumbing put in.
I see no signs at all of leakage under there. So why did you have new plumbing put in?
When you have massive water and damage like that, you try to cover all your bases before having to go through the problem of having to have your floor, your kitchen, totally dismantled.
So I'm going to pull the island, I'm going to pull the cupboard, the cabinets, the fridge. I will leave your uppers in place at this point.
Oh, good.
It is such a shame that I have to remove this granite countertop, and I'm going to guarantee that I probably will break it because it is silicone in place, and it sure is.
If it does crack, then we'll deal with that situation because there is a lot of granite. But, you know, fingers crossed, toes crossed.
I can tell by looking at the floor we are getting moisture from this whole side, but I don't see too much on this side. It's not showing cups within the floor. You see that? I don't see anything. I see it over near the door, but not here. So I'm starting to believe that it's coming from that side, whether it's from the ground or from the wall, but it's coming down and coming underneath the floor. Eventually it's going to wick right through the wood.
Right.
Just laying down a new floor is not going to solve the problem. You've got to find out where this water is coming from. There's a penetration somewhere. The roof, the back of the house, the side of the house, the floor, many different possibilities.
You have to get to the root of it because, not that I'm selling, but if I ever did sell, I would never sell a house unless it was in absolutely 110% condition. I would never pass anything on to anybody else. A, it's not fair, and B, I couldn't live with myself for trying to do it. But I'm not selling. I'm here. I'm here to the end.
I'm just hoping I don't have to take your addition down. So let's just start from the beginning, remove everything, and find out where it's coming from.
Well, there's no doubt in my mind we're going to find it. I'll take down whatever's necessary, even if it's the roof. We will source it out and find out where this water is coming from.
I'm going to be looking for many things, but at this point, until I remove everything, it's a couple of guesses.
Oh, it's going to be the end of my floor woes. I know, the right man is doing the job. And, well, unfortunately for him, but fortunately for me, I'm going to be hanging my head over his shoulder. I'll be an inspector, but I know it'll be done properly. And I'm grateful for it, truly grateful.
Let's see if I can't put a smile on your face, okay?
Oh, you'll put a smile on everything.
All right, let me go get my guys.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks so much.
See you soon.
There's no doubt water's coming in, and where. I'm going to have to put on my Sherlock Holmes hat and find out.
This is what we call a infrared camera, and we're picking up the differences in temperature that were on the surfaces of objects.
So you can actually get the heat off of me if you shoot me?
Absolutely.
Probably not the best picture of me. What I'm seeing is a hell of a lot of moisture buildup within the oak floor.
Just laying down a new floor is not going to solve the problem.
I want my kitchen fixed.
What is causing the problems? We're going to have to find out.
Well, thanks for coming in, Rob.
No problem, right?
Now, I understand you were here, I guess it was a year or two ago, correct?
Yeah, 2 or 3 actually.
Oh, that long?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we've had 3 floors since, so. Wow. I'm thinking that it's either the concrete pad is just right on grade and not on, without any crush underneath it, or we have an issue with the water coming down in between the 2 walls.
When I was here 2 years ago, everything kind of came from the fridge. The water was coming down here. There were stain marks on the wall. The thought was it's the fridge itself. It was checked out by the homeowner. It was okay. Now I agree with you. I mean, the water is completely under the whole floor. It's not just like a smaller area.
Before this, somebody had laid plastic down over top of the concrete and then put the oak on top, which is only
Right.
going to trap the moisture.
Moisture, right. So there's nowhere for it to evaporate. I like your idea of doing an opening this up. Let's get in there, see what the slab is sitting on before we rip it all out. We can just do a small area, see what's going on.
I know some people that have thermographic images, and that might be a helpful tool right now to actually look at this.
Sure.
Rob, I really appreciate you coming in here, and I think every contractor should have one of these. How long has this been out?
This has been around for about 30 years in terms of the technology, but only in the last couple of years have we brought it down to the size and cost that a typical contractor might be able to afford. This is what we call a infrared camera,
And we're picking up the differences in temperature that were on the surfaces of objects. It's up to the operator to determine if that difference in temperature is due to water damage or heat loss or something else.
You can actually get the heat off of me if you shoot me?
Absolutely. Yeah, we can take a look at you quite clearly. We can even see your breathing as you're breathing in and out. We can see the heat and the cold of your breath through your
Probably not
nostrils.
the best picture up there.
We can apply a false color palette as well if there's some other different way that we like you to look.
Oh, that's really handsome. Why is my nose green?
All we're showing here is a difference in temperature.
So my nose is cooler than my face?
Exactly.
Can I see through this wall right now?
No, you won't be able to see through the wall. We're only going to be able to see surfaces.
What about just looking at the ceiling?
Absolutely. Let's take a look at the ceiling here. We have a couple of little patches of cold for some
I see
reason.
that.
Quite a bit right here.
Isn't that strange?
Big patch right there. Another patch right here beside the skylight.
Now it's either a possibility it's water or no insulation.
That's correct, yeah.
How about the floor?
There's no moisture on the surface of the floor is basically all I can...
Well, if I pull up this wood, does that help?
Yeah, if we pulled up the wood, we might be able to see something.
Oh, there's plywood beneath it. Is that an issue?
Well, we'll see what we see.
Well, we can see there's water damage on the plywood.
Yeah, it's a little bit colder. You just in general see a faint colds. You know, I can't really tell from that small area if there's any pattern for water damage.
I guess I'm just gonna have to go to point to everything, pull it out, and start cutting open some drywall on this side. Take a look to see what I see within the void. For me, I see that being completely handy. If you don't mind, I'm gonna call you a few times.
Absolutely.
Rob, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You take it easy. All right.
What are you doing?
We have a water issue here that's coming into the kitchen big time. I think it's a lot to do with the concrete slab. We can see the foundation wall. Some of this has got some green in it.
And it's cracked here too. This is obviously where the addition started.
Yeah, but the green tells me it's absorbing water. So that's not a good sign. I had Rob come in here, our engineer, and he took a look at it. He's come to the same conclusions I did. Then I brought in thermal guys to do thermal imaging. So now, forget science, let's put our our investigators' hats on. Let's go up and take a look at the roof. We'll start from the top and work our way down. That's the drainage bed, there's the scupper. Oh, we have low points here. Oh, get out of here. It looks like the stucco guys had blocked it.
Why would they do that?
I don't know. Take a look at this. We have a 4-inch gap here from the top of the stucco up. It means driving rain, and definitely from the east we have driving rain.
Oh yeah.
Hitting that would make it go down and behind it. We saw water coming in around this side of the skylight downstairs and the one in the corner. Well, the roof sucks. I have two theories here. One, we're leaking from this side of the house in underneath the cabinets across the floor. Two, they put a concrete pad right on top of earth, and it's wicking right through the earth.
No drainage underneath.
No drainage, no stone. So let's go downstairs, let's pull the fridge, let's punch a hole in the wall behind the fridge, take a look at what we see in the wall.
You know what I'd like to do, don't you? Get rid of this whole addition and build her a new one. By the time we fix all the little stuff in here.
Let's see if we can find the water leak first.
Okay.
See, I don't think it has anything to do with this area because we see nothing wrong with the floor here at all, which tells me I don't think there's an issue coming in here. I really believe we have an issue behind this fridge because we have, this is the raw area. We see that it's completely rotted wood here.
Why would you put hardwood down here?
That's a great question, my friend. Great question.
How do you want to get these cabinets and these countertops out without breaking them?
Well, I use my head. I called in granite guys. I'm gonna let them do it.
Right. Good call.
Let's get some pry bars. I want to pull up the strips in this area and in front of the door, and I want to pull this fridge. And then we're gonna cut a hole in behind the fridge because I want to check the wall first. Oh, there we go. I do see signs of mold across the wood here.
Right.
But that could be just absorbed from this point. We see mold on the bottom of the drywall there.
Yep.
That's a bad sign right there. Is it just on the floor and it's now wicking up the drywall? Is it coming in from the bottom? We see no sealant whatsoever across here. Was it from the fridge? I have to say no, because she had all new plumbing installed. I'm sure we're gonna see a lot more when I pull up this floor. You know what this shows? This is how bad the wood was before. Obviously, the piece that was here was even worse because they pulled up this piece and replaced this piece before they did the floor. And why replace this piece?
Oh my goodness, there's water right there. No, there's not. Sorry, I freaked out. Water found the problem.
So what do we see? We see, I'm gonna assume 3/4 inch plywood, probably 5/8. Screwed or nailed, we actually see it nailed right to the concrete. We see that the screws have rusted, which says we have moisture in between the plywood and concrete. I would never in a million years put oak over a concrete slab that was on ground. I would never in a million years put 3/8 down on top of plywood because you can't nail it properly. What we do see though is a concentrated area of where the water problem is. We know that they've replaced this plywood, so I would say at one time this was really bad, probably even worse than this one. Whether or not it's the floor, I don't know. We're gonna keep going, but we can see this is the area. This is not so bad, even though it's a new sheet. We can see that it's bled possibly from one wood to another because we can see the areas in here that are wet. I still have to find out about the concrete underneath, so we're gonna be pulling everything, including the sheeting, everything. Unfortunately, I have no choice but to pull all the cabinets. I have to determine where this leak is coming from. If we damage it, we have to replace all of it. And that could be a costly mistake. I'm gonna place a little bet here. I bet you break it. It is such a shame that I have to remove this granite countertop, and I probably will break it.
If it does crack, then we'll deal with that situation. But fingers crossed, toes crossed.
Bob, how you doing, buddy? You're the man that's going to come in here and remove this wonderful granite for me?
Well, not me, but I'm going to bring our installers in.
You going to bring your guys in?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I have no choice but to pull all the cabinets because I may have to pull up this concrete slab. I have to determine where this leak is coming from. So that's why I called you in, because I don't want to pull out this granite. Worst comes to worst, if we damage it, we have to replace all of it.
Yeah.
And that could be a costly mistake, but it's already, we warned the client.
Yeah.
She hates that sink.
I
And
heard,
if we
yes.
can actually cut that and put in a bigger one,
She has to find a sink big enough to cover both those holes.
Right.
And that's going to be a challenge.
we're going to do our damnedest. At the same token, odds are we have a 50-50 chance here of breaking it or not breaking it.
Yeah, this is the challenge, this piece right here,
Where the
because
sink?
it's so long and it has the sink in it. You have to get the sink up really high.
Well, the problem is that they silicone the sink down on top of the plywood and then silicone the top down on top of the sink.
Probably.
We're going to break it.
No.
I'm going to place a little bet here.
Okay.
I bet you break it.
Okay. The problem they've got here is the floor, is where the water is, so all of this stuff has to go out. Well, we got lucky on the first one. We're working on it. He owes me $1 on the first piece. We're going to go to $1. Maybe we'll go $1 a foot here. And what we can get out in one, each foot he owes me $1.
The other side that isn't glued down either.
Oh, good.
So yeah.
There's another what? There's $4 or $5 right there.
We've got to a point now where we lowered the cabinets a little bit by undoing the legs, and we're going to try to tip it up and let these pros try to get this out of here without cracking it. All right. Okay. Okay, so you want to take this in 2 pieces. So you want us to fold this end up here? Separate this joint?
Yeah,
there you go. It's going to crack.
It's just the plywood's holding it.
Together, yes.
Yeah.
So the granite and the plywood actually are glued together, but they're not glued to the cabinets, which means we're lucky because the plywood is going to support the granite and makes for an easy reinstallation.
We have been extremely lucky. It appears that the granite was not glued down to the top, so it was still a good call. I'd rather have the guys that know what they're doing take it off. So it looks like we do not have to buy new granite.
I'm elated. I couldn't be happier that it's out. And we're getting down to the problem, because you can only live so long with problems.
Okay, let us get back to work.
Super. And I'm just so thrilled. I mean, what can I say?
You haven't seen anything yet.
What can I say? I'm elated. Just elated.
We'll bring you back.
Oh, thank you.
Here's something we don't normally do. Run electrical through copper.
So they went to all the trouble of laying regular floor.
They moved this island 3 times. Put down new floor, sanded it, refinished it to match supposedly the existing, missed it. No matter how we look at it, we just had a few yo-yos in here. I'm gonna hit an area that shows wetness, so I'm gonna have to do a temporary cut or just a really investigative cut, it'll be here. I don't see anything along this wall here. A little bit of mold right here. And that could be just because it wicked it right across the floor and actually came up through the drywall. We can see that it's weeped all the way back, which is something I don't like. We'll see more when we pop up this floor here. Obviously it's not a lot, which brings me back to the concrete, that it's pulling the moisture out of the ground. As long as we eliminate the water problem, we can bring it back with in-floor heating, new tiles on the floor, and turn it back into gold. I think we'll do a little bit of lipstick and mascara in here, fix up a lot of the plastering, maybe a new paint job. Yeah, that'll work. Look at it, we're seeing no water, none over here. Just a little in this neighborhood.
It looks like fairly new plywood. Oh, is it water stain here? Actually, that might not be.
Well, it probably just bled. See, there was no paper there, so it bled through the wood and deposited on top, which is kind of concerning to me because that really means it's not coming from underneath.
It's on top of the paper.
Well, if it was coming from underneath, it would have absorbed through the wood, and we're seeing its surface.
Right.
It's not over yet, guys. This is the #1 mistake, is putting plastic over top of this concrete. It just traps all moisture and does not allow it to breathe. So is this the culprit? We'll pull up everything, baseboard, because we're gonna go through all new floors here. It's just not over yet, guys.
Well, it seems to be, this was obviously the last piece put in after the kitchen was in maybe, and the, doesn't look like the fasteners held too much. We haven't lifted this up yet, but we're about to and see what's going on.
Looks like they tried using some Tapcons that broke, or it looks like maybe they rusted. Tapcons, if you don't drill them down deep enough, they'll snap on you.
This is likely then quite hard concrete. I don't see any moisture down here though.
No, you're right. Beginning to wonder if maybe it wasn't the problem when the roof started leaking.
Yeah, and then it's been solved since.
So we see it dry.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
This is the #1 mistake, is putting plastic over top of this concrete. It just traps all moisture and does not allow it to breathe. So is this the culprit? Is it a simple fact that it's just created beads of moisture on top of the plastic, which has then been absorbed up through the plywood? If you mix cool with warm, you create moisture. That's just logic. So logic says if this ground is cool, which we know it is, it's approximately 68 degrees Fahrenheit underneath this slab. We're warm within the kitchen. You put plastic on top of the concrete, which does not allow it to breathe, you will create moisture. Imagine something so simple as putting plastic on top of concrete to cause so much problems, and look what we have to do to take it apart and fix it. I still want to do the core samples. We want to see underneath this. I want to see, we'll drill a few holes throughout the floor, and I want to see stone under this. If I see stone under this, I'm starting to believe it's the plastic. Morning, Mike. Chris, how are you, pal?
Good. How are you doing?
Not so bad. Nice to see you again.
How you doing?
Brian? Casey. Do a core sample. I like the idea. It sure saves me taking the jackhammer and pounding it out. This way we do a couple of things. We see if we have moisture within the concrete, stone underneath it. I'm searching for where the water's coming in. I have no evidence on the outside. We know we had a couple of leaks before the roof was fixed. I think it's a simple factor of plastic over concrete creating moisture. But you know what? You're here. Let's do this. I would love to see what's underneath it. Make sure we have stone underneath it and check the thickness of it or the depth, as well as anything we can see within the concrete.
But first, I think we should probably do a graph scan of the slab.
I like that.
See how thick it is, and maybe we can see what's underneath it.
I like that.
Awesome.
Right. Show me your tools. This was an area right here that showed a lot of moisture within the plywood, so this would be a definite area I would like to hit.
Sure.
So you can actually read the depth with this?
Depth is always approximate with radar, but it's pretty.
So we use this equipment mainly for damage prevention, locating conduits and structural features like rebar and post-tension cables, stuff that our guys want to avoid when they're drilling.
Yeah, that makes sense. You don't want to hit metal or electrical.
So just taking a pass right now. What we're getting on the screen coincides with where the card is. Our little cursor here is the center of our antenna. So right here, this is all our concrete. Then we have different subgrades, like different levels of compaction.
So we're showing stone underneath.
Maybe stone, maybe sand. We can't actually tell until we drill through it.
Okay.
I am going to assume that this is extremely important to do before we drill, just in case there's electrical, steel, anything within the floor.
Absolutely. Anything you don't want to drill through and you want to avoid, it's definitely worthwhile to scan it first. You know, the money you spend on scanning a slab first, you save it 10 times for if you do hit electrical cable. It costs you so much more to have it fixed.
Well, this is definitely the area that I want to drill into, is right here. Even though it shows to me that it's dry, the evidence within the floor itself showed the moisture area throughout right here.
Whenever you're ready, Casey.
What'd you say?
We might yell a little from here on in, but that's okay.
You know, simplicity, here we are. I brought in a thermographic reader, so he did thermographics through the walls, through the floor to see what we could see. An engineer to get his opinion on this, and you guys. And it's not a lot of money to bring in all these people that I brought in to determine the problem. I mean, I could go to the extreme of ripping everything down, breaking up the floor, and it's as simple as, is it just plastic over concrete? I'm starting to put my money on that.
Okay.
But let's go all the way and see what we do have.
We're gonna find that shortly.
So they didn't use stone, they just used foam. And foam should have actually been under the stone. So in other words, I'd like to see foam if they're going to use foam, then crushed stone, and then the concrete.
What I think we've got here underneath is just sand, clay.
So that's going to hold the moisture.
It's going to hold the moisture and not let it drain.
I'm just wondering if we should do like one here and maybe one over there, just to make sure that we still have the foam all the way around. I'll talk to Rob, the engineer, to see whether or not I got to actually lose this concrete and do it again. Insulation again. It is really, geez, difference of a 1/4 inch. I'll have to get Rob's opinion on that as to see whether or not we're going to pull up this concrete. Get an engineer's report to say yay or nay.
There's a inch gap, followed by that. Underneath the styrofoam.
Why is the foam deteriorated? Does that appear to be undermined there?
Yep, there's a good inch gap between the bottom of the foam and the soil.
If this was my house, I wouldn't leave this, which means
you're going to take it out.
Yeah. Looks like we're jackhammering.
This took us 20 minutes to make this little hole. It's a structurally strong floor. I mean, it's nearly impossible to actually jackhammer it.
First, I think we should probably do a graph scan of the slab.
I like that.
See how thick it is, and maybe we can see what's underneath.
So they didn't use stone, they just used foam. Why is the foam deteriorated? Looks like we're jackhammering.
Go to the hole. I would say that by experience, the concrete's at least 25 MPa, which means it's strong. Typically for something like this, 20 MPa would be enough. This is very strong concrete. It's also reinforced with welded wire mesh, which is basically leaning me toward not wanting to take this floor up.
This is what they're supposed to do.
This took us 20 minutes to make this little hole. It's a structurally strong floor. I mean, it's nearly impossible to actually jackhammer it.
And we have not noticed anything to do with moisture.
Why take something apart and tear it up and if it's in really good shape?
So let's just leave it as it is. Let's clean up. Let's get this drywall plasticed up, and I think we're going to be able just to get some stone in there, pack it back as much as we can, backfill it, get it in-floor heating, which I think is going to solve the moisture problem. All right?
Okay. Sounds good, Mike.
Thanks. It has rained for the last 2 days. We see nothing. It's completely dry underneath the floor. No evidence whatsoever that this is wet.
No.
Look at that, drier, just dry.
Yeah.
This tells us that the plastic being on the floor and trapping cool vapors from coming up is still a key issue in my mind.
Condensated on the warm floor and caused vapor.
As far as I'm concerned, yes. Now, you know, we've even contacted the Flooring Association, and it was #1 recommended if you're going to put oak over a concrete floor to lay down a 6mm plastic, 3/4-inch plywood, and nail through it. But if you read the writing rather clearly, you don't want holes in the plastic because that could cause issues. So how the hell do you put down plywood without putting holes through the plastic? We talked to engineers, and as long as this has not deteriorated, which is in brand new shape, 21 years old, this is structurally strong enough to hold up 2 floors of weight load.
Oh yeah, no.
So why pull up this floor if we don't have to?
Oh, I certainly don't want to jackhammer this sucker up. There's no point.
Are you kidding? What for? You know, it's not that I'm lazy, but why take out something that's working? I want to open up this wall here behind the fridge. We're going to pull out the insulation, everything. I want to see the wall behind it because I'm still not convinced that we don't have water coming in from this wall.
Dry as a friggin' bone. Don't see no water, Mr.
No
Holmes.
signs of water.
Well, we're happy not to see water, right?
Damn straight. Damn straight. And let me tell you what we've done so far. We have done core samples within the floor. We have determined your floor thickness is 5 to 6 inches in certain areas, and that's a wonderful structure to even have the mesh in it. So I'm going to applaud the man who did this 21 years ago.
That's good.
We have styrofoam, not a foam board, but styrofoam, 1.5 inches underneath the floor, and it is still intact and not corroded whatsoever. So it's a great sign that tells me there's no water underneath the concrete. It's very dry. This all looks good. No signs of water whatsoever. This was the main area that we saw within the wood that showed moisture. So I know it's not coming in from here. I'm also extremely confident the floor is okay and that we do not have water penetration underneath bleeding up through the floor. We have minor issues with water. I'm still confident that it's the vapor barrier over the concrete, even though it is suggested by manufacturers of hardwood flooring. I'm against it. We have better methods.
How many years ago was it suggested?
Good thinking. I'm going to put in some super in-floor heating here that's going to keep your feet warm, and it's just going to keep this kitchen warm.
My Tootsies are going to love it.
And I want to put all brand new slate in here. I'm looking at 24 by 24 inch tile. Are you fine with that?
I'm fine with anything as long as I don't have a leak.
I'm not going to let this leak the day I leave here. I'm going to make this right by next week.
Oh, that's God bless you. Thank
Okay.
you. Yeah, that's great.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, this floor is superior to anything else that we see here. I mean, based at 5 to 6 inches thick, that's already over code. If we look at it in theory, this structure will hold up 2 floors of a house. So when it comes down to that, and noticing that there's no water underneath it whatsoever, I'm keeping it. I think it's nuts to pull it out and replace it. It has nothing to do with me being lazy. It has everything to do with this is proper. We fill the holes, and over we go with it, just a scratch coat to give us a nice little leveling pad. Then we'll put down an in-floor heating, the subfloor, and the tiles, in that order. This is in-floor heating. It's electrical. Works very well. It's very efficient. Where the whole kitchen will be on a 15-amp line. In other words, 1 circuit, not 2. Keeps the floor warm. You can see all the heated lines within the mat. What they do is they continuously run through all the way down the other side, come through, and it's all one wire. You can walk on it, but just be cautious. You don't want to break the line. Personally, I think it's advisable to let the company know who makes this that what you're going to do in your kitchen or bathroom or wherever you're going to put it. And what they'll do is they'll come in and measure it, and they'll make a custom mat, really, to fit the whole area. We don't need to heat underneath the cabinets, so we want to bring it out as much as we can. This will be the walking area. The other piece will do a U-shape around the island, because the island goes right here. I've pre-marked the floor. You can just see the black line that I've drawn.
Yeah, I see it.
When installing this product, you want to make sure that you use thin set. You want a fairly milky mix. You want a 3/16" V-notch trowel. We're just going to put the thin set down and then use a grout sponge to flatten it out and push it out to grab it. Because what this has is a mesh on both sides of it. You can just see it if you look up close. You see the mesh, the fibers within. That thin set grabs that, bonds it to the scratch coat that we put down, and then we'll thin set right over top of this and put down the subfloor. It's extremely important that we get the thin set to bond to the bottom of this so we hold everything nice and tight. If the in-floor heating is held tight, then the subfloor is held tight, our floor is tight for the tiles, and that's what we want. We're finally ready to start putting this kitchen back together. We laid the subfloor, Sean's getting the new tiles down in place, and I am extremely confident with the in-floor heating and these gorgeous slate tiles, we're not gonna have any more issues with water. Really, there should have been tiles in the first place. I don't like wood on concrete, but you know what? I'm happy now. It's looking good. We're going back together, everything's looking good. We've had a lot of rain, no leaks. Great sign. It means that we've more than likely solved this problem. We've got the tiles done. Now we're ready to bring the cabinets back in and get this kitchen finished. Good morning. Looks like a wintry day, doesn't it? We have a freezing rain warning in effect in the next 45 minutes. We got to get these cabinets in. We made sure that we put plastic all the way underneath as well as over top, and that stops the moisture vapors from coming out of the ground and affecting our wood. It's done very well. Didn't want to have it outside, but we had no room to work and we had to tile the floor. Object of today is to get all the cabinets in, get everything back in place, clean this floor, because we had the granite guys coming in tomorrow to drop the countertops back in place, the new sink, new taps. This is a little easier for me because everything was in place and we've just taken it out and we're going to put it back again. Everything seems to go back exactly where it was. Even the island's back in place and looks totally proper. We have the granite wonderful people in here today and they're going to assist us getting this back in. This is a gorgeous sink. This is cast iron with a porcelain finish. And I'll tell you, it's 120 pounds. That's a heavy sink. It's spec'd for 300 pounds. You know, you have to think of the sink full of dishes, leaning into it, pushing, you know, doing anything. You do not. We do not want this sink dropping through the cabinet. So not only will we support it front and back, I want both sides supported, and then we'll do cripple supports underneath the sides. In other words, cutting a piece of wood and hopefully a melamine, a white melamine to match, and just glue it to the cabinet, put a couple of screws in, it'll hold the vertical. Honestly, it's going to be just as hard putting this granite back in as it was taking it out, simply because we've raised the height of the floor. So now what? You know, we're just going to have to drop the back of the cabinets, get the granite back on, and raise the height so we've equaled the backsplash. And looking at this sink, we were pretty lucky that we were able to cut out this size and accommodate the new sink. Thanks to these guys, they were able to take this out without breaking it, put it back, recut it for the sinks. I tell you, you guys are pros. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Our
you
good
guys, Sean.
Right on. See you tomorrow, eh?
You got it. We're going back together. Everything's looking good. We've had a lot of rain, no leaks. Great sign. It means that we've more than likely solved this problem. In-floor heating, slate tiles. It's looking really good. Sean has been working hard. He's got it all sealed. We see a beautiful finish on that tile. That's the sealant that we put on top of that. Just looks great, doesn't it? Craig's here. We're gonna get a coat of paint on this, and the idea is not to do a sponge effect. You know, full finish was big 10 years ago. The idea now is to pick one of the colors. I don't know if it's light or darker we're going with, and we're gonna just seal the whole thing again. It's gonna enhance it, make it look better.
The homeowner has asked us if we can keep the writing and design up here. So what I'm doing is just taping that off. We're gonna put a new color down here and leave this. So a tip when you're painting with tape. Everybody's used tape and everyone's had seepage below the tape. That's why a lot of people don't like using it. The trick is to just feather the first coat over the tape very lightly, hardly putting paint on your brush. What that does is it seals the edge between the tape and the paint. On the final coat is when you can put a lot of paint on your brush and actually get good coverage with the paint. A lot of people will find they'll just flood it on the first coat and it's gonna seep below the tape and it leaves a poor line. So if you follow those tips and pull your tape off as soon as you're done the second coat, you're gonna have a great line with no seepage. People can do a great paint job if they just use tape properly. This tap here is Insta-Hot. So what you'll do is you'll press down, you'll turn it, and there's a unit underneath the sink that will just give you instant hot water. Just like your own little hot water tank right underneath the sink. The difference with this sink here compared to one of the stainless steels or the average homeowner sink is this is a cast iron sink. It's an undermount. It's the first undermount cast iron sink I've ever seen. So meaning there's nothing, usually a cast iron sink will sit on top of the granite. This one's got to sit underneath. So it's got to be supported with 2x4s underneath. And we have a carburetor underneath the sink and we got an Insta-Hot under the sink. It's going to be very busy. After I'm done in here, you're not going to be able to put much in. This underneath the cabinet here is just going to be for plumbing, and that's it.
Well, this is extremely a custom fit. I just can't believe how lucky we got when we were able to cut the existing granite top to allow this sink to go in place. You just don't usually come across that kind of luck. And it works. You would never have known it was a different sink in this location. For me, I call it the backup is to use a clear silicone, which is also an adhesive. It's going to help bond it in place, and not only that, if she ever, she's doing the dishes or washing her hands and water splashes up on the back, it stops all water from going down the hole. And I think it's extremely important that anybody installs any type of faucet to make sure they use either a plumber's putty or clear silicone underneath anything to do with the water area. There we go.
This thermostat is going to control the in-floor heating, and it has a little sensor inside that's actually mounted in the in-floor heating, and this is going to give you a nice even heat throughout the floor. Tile's going to feel warm, toes are going to feel nice and toasty. Look, that was the old one. Isn't that ugly? Old technology.
I've just brushed the second coat on, and I'm going to pull the tape off while the paint's still wet. That way we're not pulling the paint off once it's dry, and we've got seamless edges.
It's taken a little bit longer today, but we've had a lot of little intricate things to do, and now we're on cleanup stage.
I'd say maybe half an hour. All right, I'm happy. Let's get in. Come take a look. Now, you know what? It doesn't look totally different, although we did a few changes.
Oh my God.
Just a few changes, nothing serious.
In this case, Ann bought the house like this. And for 3 to 4 years, had a lot of problems with the floor. Moisture buildup one after another. Nobody could solve the problem. Well, you gotta go back to the beginning, like going back to the drawing board. That's exactly what we did.
What caused the problem?
Here we go.
Okay.
All right. We know we had leaks from the roof. Indications showed it right across your bulkhead, right down this corner, and it came forward across the top of the floor.
Okay.
So after redoing the roof, which you've already had done,
right,
that solved anything from coming from the top. But once I started pulling up this floor after removing everything else, I saw there was plastic over concrete. Now, I don't agree with the plastic over concrete. As a matter of fact, I don't even agree with wood over concrete. You might as well have it in your bathtub. We are talking about a cold zone meeting warm. When cool and warm meet, we create moisture. Now, one key thing you said to me, it took a year before the wood started to react to any problem, correct?
Correct.
Now, this tells me there's not a lot of water. Since the plastic would trap this water, it would take that amount of time for actually to come up through the holes that have all the screws that went down through the plywood, which again I'm against because it went through the plastic.
We won it. We fixed it. I'm highly confident that it's not going to be a problem again. There is not going to be any water in there. We did do some changes. We have slate tile on the floor with in-floor heating, which is really going to solve all the problems of moisture on the floor in itself, not to mention to keep the feet warm, considering it's on grade.
And we actually did a custom-made in-floor heating is what we're looking for, electric, high efficiency.
Oh, bonus.
And then,
my tootsies are going to be warm.
You got it. And then this wonderful slate tile at 24 inch by 24 inch. I think it's a wonderful look. I think it goes. What do you think of that?
I think it's gorgeous. I love it. Just love it.
It looks good. It feels good. Anne's happy. That makes me happy.
You got your wish, your new sink underneath the countertop. We were able to take the granite, recut it, allow the fit to go in. I must say, it was a hell of a time. This is 120 pounds, and we had a bit of an issue.
It looks gorgeous.
You
It's
have great
great.
taste, I have to admit.
Thank you.
picked the taps. I love the way they work. Just simply push it forward. Left for hot, right for cold. Very nice. Very, very classy.
And my baby.
No hot water?
Love it.
Instant?
Love it.
So I guess that's for your coffee, eh?
It certainly is.
We did get a new paint, and I was able to keep your lettering.
My needs. That's perfect.
Kept in that beautiful writing, and I do like it personally, but Anne loves it, and for those reasons, I'll do my damnedest to keep it.
It works.
And the grouting. I mean, my God. Did you notice everything is lined up? Right down, right in the center.
We have to do it that way.
I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous.
In a way, it does look brand new again.
It does. It does. I don't know. How do I say thank you? I mean, just.
Well, you just did. You just did. You just did.
I love it. I love it.
Man.
It's just great.
You know what? I like it too.
Anytime the homeowner smiles and says, "Thank you so much. You've made my day. You made my life," that's what makes me happy. That's why I keep doing what I do. That's what makes me go on to the next one.
Sean, where are you?
Oh, you all ready for me?
I am.
How you doing?
But you got the best. What can you say?
That's right.
Got Holmes on Holmes.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that. Is
Sounds like a
right.
plan.
All right, let's load her up.
Another one.
David.
Mike.
Excellent job.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Desmond.